Welcome, scholars, to Lesson 2-1.14, A Tale of Two Empires. Today, we're going to run a quick compare and contrast between a few of the main points that I want you to take away from the Byzantine Empire versus the Ottoman Empire. We're not going to be going in great depth here, but I do want to point out a few things. First of all, let's take a look at that Byzantine Empire. Now, the Byzantines were centered in the city of Constantinople, sitting right here on the boss, marking the boundary between Europe and Asia. It was predominantly had a Greek culture. This ties all the way back to Alexander the Great and his conquest of the area and his bringing of Greek culture and adaptation of the Greek culture by the people who stayed following those conquests. And at its peak, it really controlled all of the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, also much of North Africa, and much of the Middle East. We get all of the Levant over here, the Holy Lands. We get Egypt, pushing a little bit into Arabia, modern Syria, and so forth. So it is really an expansive empire. Now, we're going to contrast that or compare that with the Ottoman Empire, which in many ways was the successor of this Byzantine Empire. They were obviously opponents early on. They warred against each other. The Ottomans fought against the Byzantines and eventually conquered Constantinople, and then is going to expand and cover basically what was the Byzantine Empire. Its territory is really remarkably very similar. Whereas the Byzantines had control of Italy and a touch of Spain, the Ottomans don't have that, but they have control over Baghdad and Iraq, which the Byzantines never controlled. So you trade Iraq for Italy and a touch of southern Spain, and we have basically the same territorial empire. And the Ottomans are going to be really stepping into this former Byzantine role. Also, a lot of the Islamic empires have left their cultural and government imprint on these lands by then as well. But this is really kind of the territory that we're talking about. Greek cultural practices and language have been there for a long time. Arabic is now mixed in thoroughly with it, but much of that Greek remains and will remain for centuries under Ottoman rule. Similarities of the empires themselves. Now, the Ottomans are going to learn from Byzantine management, also from Arabic management, about how to run these large empires. And in particular, the Ottomans are going to look at Byzantine history and how Byzantines have interacted with Europe to try to help guide their relationship there. And looking into this history and seeing the wealth of the Byzantine Empire is somewhat based upon this east-west trade, the Ottomans are going to seek to fill that role. They're going to especially develop a good relationship with Venice, and through Venice, move a lot of goods from the Middle East, and those goods are coming through China, the Silk Road, into Europe, and the Ottomans are going to become famously wealthy for doing this. Just kind of stepping into the Byzantine role and actually doing it a little bit better than the Byzantines ever had. The differences are that the Byzantines had never been intolerant. Intolerant is not the right word to use for the Byzantines, but Ottoman toleration was markedly greater. The Ottomans really embrace, you don't see a whole lot of blending of religious traditions and religious cultures and such with the Byzantines. They were very much Christians who, if you weren't our Orthodox Christianity, that was okay, but we're Christians. The Ottoman Empire was an Islamic empire. The rulers were Muslims, and they did put that forward, but they did not push back against Christianity quite so much. They embraced that difference. It was a part of their empire. Being an empire means that you need to be tolerant. So their similarities are really tied into this. Their geography is the same. They're ruling the same area, the same people. It is a multicultural empire, so both of them need to have some elements of this toleration. Trade is a key component of both of them. They're both very wealthy when they're doing these two things well. They both start to collapse when they stop doing these things well. Their differences are rooted in religious differences, which have this natural impact on alliances. If you see, by 1600, we've got Europe is very Christian, Middle East and North Africa is very Muslim, and you've got the Ottoman Empire, which is straddling the two. The Ottomans, though, are always going to be seen by Europe as predominantly Muslim. Ottomans' attempts to break into Europe and be seen as legitimate within Europe, have their title of Holy Roman Empire accepted within Europe, is always going to be resisted because of this Islamic feature, which is going to push them increasingly toward Islamization, closer ties to Islam, eventually less toleration as well, and that's going to start to lead into their decline. So this was a quick look at the Byzantines and the Ottomans. That is it for today. Under 6.5 minutes. Plenty of time to do your exit ticket. I will see you later.